in Plettenberg Bay, the place to fish is the Point. If you look at it on Google Maps, you'll see that there's a bay and Robberg Beach, and then there's this peninsula called the Robberg Peninsula that sticks out into the sea like a hook. And I think it's a Benguela current that runs past from Mozambique down the Indian Ocean coast, and the sardine run happens, and you get other runs afterwards, or they're all part of the sardine run, I'm not sure, but they used to have to go out close around the point, and so fishing at the Point was always the best, but it's very rough. Well, it's calm on one side and rough on the other, so that Robberg Peninsula has a rough side and a calm side. The rough side is south and the calm side is north into the bay. And that bay, that has some old ships, wrecked ships in it, and I think it's got a Portuguese name. I think the town actually had a Portuguese name before it had an English one. Plettenberg Bay, it was the name appeared, the Portuguese name appeared on certain shops and the newspaper, I think. Oh, forget it. I'm sure it's on the Wikipedia page. My dad was always promising to take me fishing to the Point, and the reason I'm making this video is that after seeing the woman with her two sons, taking her two sons fishing, I saw a guy fishing with his son. But my dad never got round to taking me to the Point, and he never really rated me much as a fisherman, so I never really learnt to fish very well. But I went there on my own to see my grandparents. I think it was the last time I saw my grandfather. And I think it was the same time I met I've got a page fault. I need to page in Lisa D'Souza. The same time I learned to fish, and I fished in Robberg Lagoon, and I fished on the rocks at the Beacon Island. I caught elf, and not on a spinner like I should have. I caught them on bait, I think. And hung out with the coloured guys there, and was asking around who knew my father, my grandfather, my uncle. I met a few that knew them, because the coloured community used to act as gillies for the white community, which was largely English, I think. I'm not sure how the English and Afrikaans communities in Plettenberg Bay worked then, whether they're the same now. But I saw this guy fishing with his son, and I remembered this. And then when I went to visit my parents, just after I left my wife, I went and stayed there. And I walked to the Point several times. It's only a short walk. My dad always used to say, "Oh, it'll take you too long to walk to the Point because you're too small when you're bigger." And I remember Helen went to the Point with them on a holiday when I was in Bolivia, and she wrote this very dark poem. It was beautiful. But My mum seemed to be using it as a kind of undercurrent, you know, you've damaged your daughter by not being here. Sorry, it's just the way things happened. And they happen like that for a lot of reasons. I did want to just go and live in France, as it turns out, not far down the road from Alexander Grothendieck. And I was sitting in that house in France while Dad was manically digging a fucking driveway for a fucking car. And I was walking in the mountains and studying Thomas Forster's Logic, Induction and Sets book, which is absolutely brilliant. Everyone should read it. And I was studying that really hard proof that Thomas fucked up. And I think I found the problems with it and put them in the notes. So there was a copy of Thomas' book full of pieces of paper with equations, and I marked all the typos I found because I was hoping I'd be able to work with him on a second edition one day. And I was doing that at the house, and I wanted to try and find a way to live there so that I could study maths, and so that I wouldn't have to keep going to Cambridge and doing this stupid fucking sysadmin stuff. But this was not approved of by the parents. I just wanted to be free of the grind. Because the grind is not good for your mind. And then I found out that they sold that around 2017 anyway. They sold that house. And they didn't tell me, they couldn't tell me that they'd sold it themselves. They had to leave Helen to tell me. I'm not bitter about it. Shit happens. I'm just saying the reason I stayed in Bolivia is connected with all sorts of things. One of which is that as soon as I didn't have to do the grind, I just took off and flew. And that must have been obvious to several people. And then you wonder, what the fuck was I actually doing for 10 years? Just paying alimony. Just working there so that 15% of my salary could go to Jane to pay off her mortgage. That's alright, but it came to an end and I got to do some stuff.
Yeah, I know, she's really nice.
I'll leave it there.